Okay.
Oh, here comes somebody, I think, with a cowboy hat.
Yeah. Hello.
Hi. Come on forward. Mm-mm.
Is that you?
No.
Oh, maybe they're having some difficulties.
Yeah, we lost our first guest. Roxanne, could you turn that down? Looks like we have someone else attempting to come in. Welcome.
Yeah.
Okay, great. We have somebody in the room. Hello, welcome.
Huh. Hi, Cindy.
So for anybody who's out there, either in virtual space or watching on YouTube, we're going to take a few minutes and wait for people to congregate, and we'll probably start in, I'm going to say, 3 or 4 minutes. Okay. Yeah. Yes. Okay. Can you hear me better now? Oh, okay. Let me double check this again. Hello, Carol. So the Cindy who's here, is this Cindy Merton? I thought I heard a Cindy.
Her username is Cindy Mert. It could
Okay.
be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So just again, we are going to wait probably a minute or two before we start, just to make sure that any late stragglers don't miss out on the beginning. Okay, the countdown clock is going. I think we've got about 10-15 seconds, and we will start. We have somebody else coming in. Welcome.
Hello, thank you.
Already. Oh, alrighty, let's go. So, hello everybody. How's everybody doing out there in virtual reality and on YouTube? Hopefully everybody's doing well. It's gorgeous outside. It's a good day. Anyway, I'm Bernadette Hansen, and I am the Democratic candidate for State Senate in District 12. Now, before I start with my campaign speech, a few things. This is very new to me. This virtual world is very new, so I would ask for your patience. If things kind of go a little bit awry, we'll just roll with it. How's that? And also, my hope is that this will be an interactive meeting, and after I'm done with the campaign speech, that we have an opportunity to have a dialogue, that you have a chance to ask questions, but maybe even more so, if you can share what your issues are with me. Let me know what's important to you, what issues you'd like to see your elected candidate fight for when they get to Salem. That's how I'd like to see this meeting go, rather than just me doing a monologue. So here we go. Again, I am Bernadette Hansen, and I am the Democratic candidate for State Senate in District 12. For those of you who don't know what District 12 is, it consists of portions of 5 counties, those being Yamhill, Benton, Polk, a portion of Marion, and Washington County. So it is a huge district with a very diverse demographic of both people, industries, manufacturing, everything. So here we go. Success in any community rests in shared values. Imagine a community where we can count on each other, act on our most generous instincts, and protect those among us who, without our protection, would suffer. That's the kind of community I want to live in, and I know it's the community you want to live in too. Unfortunately, we are not being heard or represented effectively by our current state senator, Brian Boquist. Mr. Boquist was part of a group of Republicans who decided to walk off their jobs and block the entire legislative process. They didn't walk out just once, but twice to the tune of 28 days of no work, but full pay. Got that. In addition, Mr. Boquist threatened state troopers saying, if you send anybody to get me, make sure they are single and well armed. This is a blatant disrespect of law enforcement officers. Is not just insolent, it's dangerous. Especially in today's heated political climate, words matter. Words matter. I offer a different vision of Oregon based on mutual respect and a burning desire to make life better for all Oregonians. I also offer over 2 decades of experience in the field of natural resource management, and I will use my extensive knowledge of Oregon water law and water rights to help our farmers continue to put food on our tables. Oregon is at an inflection point, and we can either continue on the path of chaos or we can choose to work together for the common good of all Oregonians. We have less than a month to the election, and our votes have never been more important. Folks, this is our opportunity to make a course correction, because when we vote, our values are put into action and our voices are heard. So, if you're interested in learning more about my campaign and the issues that I'll be fighting for, after this session, you could head to my website at BernadetteHansen.com. It's really simple, BernadetteHansen.com, where you can find out a little bit more, again, about my issues and the platform. So, I am Bernadette Hansen. I am running for Oregon Senate, and I am asking for your vote. Thank you. All righty, so this is the part that's going to be, thank you for all the applause. I see little hands clapping in the air. It's great. So anyway, this is the audience participation portion of the show. And for those of you who are out watching through YouTube, I think that there is an opportunity for you to send a question in, or maybe tell us a little bit about yourself, like where you're, watching from and what issues are important to you. So the floor is open. So Amy, do we have any idea of how many folks are even watching or participating?
We do. Let's check in.
All right, that's good. 8's a good number. So if there's no questions right now, what I kind of wanted to convey to you is, yes, the Republicans and Brian Boquist, yes, they walked off the job. They left for 28 days where they did no work. They basically hijacked the legislative session, and they were paid fully. As well, Mr. Boquist threatened law enforcement officers. That's done. That's history, and we know that it's happened. What I would like to focus on in my campaign is something different. I don't want to look back. I want to look forward. I want to share what my vision of Oregon is, and what I can offer, and what I want to do as your next elected official. One of the things that I'm really concerned about, and actually was one of the primary reasons I threw my hat into the ring, is I feel like all of us, we have been inundated on a daily basis, kind of hourly basis, with a lot of negativity, a lot of hostility, a lot of anger and angst coming from both the Beltway, Washington, D.C., and just it's all over the airwaves. And my fear is that that will come down and trickle down into Oregon and into our communities. And I don't want that to happen. I want us to continue to be people who conduct ourselves, with kindness, with decorum, that we listen to each other, that we don't scream at each other or call each other names. And I remember vividly when I heard that Mr. Boquist had not just left the building, literally left the building, he also threatened law enforcement officials, and some of the language that he used and he has continued to use really, it scares me. And I don't want to see that, that type of representation at our state's capital. I think it's harmful, and I think, oops, I got something that just came up on my screen, so hopefully I don't lose you. It says it's going to restart. Anyway, so yeah, that was primarily the reason that I decided initially to throw my hat into the ring. But I also have a more personal reason why I wanted to be part of some of the decision making and helping to create a vision for an Oregon, a future Oregon, and that is with healthcare. Now with COVID-19, it has really put into the spotlight how many deficiencies there are in accessibility to good health care. And I'll share a little something. I am married. Actually, I'm married to my first boyfriend, if you can believe it. But he is a Navy vet. He served as a submariner, if you can believe it. But when he left the service, he found out that he has a genetic disease, which was passed on from his father. His father died of it at 42. And we are now dealing with that on a daily basis. I guess the thing that I would say is we're lucky because of his service in the military. He has access to the Veterans Administration and the health care there. And I say we're lucky because if we didn't have that, I don't know if we would have the home that we have. I don't know if we would have, the cars that we have, because my husband, just one of his many treatments is that he gets an infusion. And an infusion is basically an IV where, you just do an IV and you're infusing a drug into your body. This we do once a week. And for that infusion therapy, it is $15,000 a pop. So you take $15,000, multiply that by 4, which is 4 weeks in a month, and multiply that by 12 months in a year. You are talking about potentially, if we didn't have health care through the VA system, that would be a catastrophic event, and it would, I don't know where we would be. And that's why I say I'm lucky. I mean, granted, my husband has this disease, and it's not good. But we're in a much better stead than a lot of people. We have a support group at OHSU for this disease. And by the way, it's called Alpha-1 Antitrypsin Deficiency Syndrome. And I guess in layman's terms, it would be genetic emphysema. So his lungs are affected profoundly. But at our support group that we meet at once a month at OHSU, I look around and there are people there, and their number one struggle is not just this disease that is racking them, that is affecting them so profoundly. They have to, while they're dealing with this disease, they have to worry about how they are going to pay for their treatments, how they are going to pay for all the inhalers that they have, how they're going to pay to fill the gas tank so that they can go to the hospital. And I am not exaggerating when I say that. And sitting around and hearing those stories, it's heartbreaking. It really is. So that's why healthcare, just in a nutshell, is one of my top priorities. And it's something that I'm going to fight for to make sure that everybody, whether you have a disease or not that's prevalent right now, or you do have a pre-existing condition, that you will have access. You can be confident that you have access to adequate healthcare coverage, that you will not have to suffer and wonder, do I pay for this drug or do I just not, pay a bill this month? Because that was an actual scenario by one of the members that we met with one time, was struggling. Do I pay for a bill or do I pay for my medication? And you know what? I know this is going to sound, it's heartbreaking, but in America today, I'm going to say it, it is unacceptable that anybody should have to make that decision. And here's the thing is, I know that my husband's not the only one in this situation. There are thousands and probably millions of people across the country who have pre-existing conditions or have diseases that they're dealing with, or maybe there's a fear that there's going to be something, that would crop up in the near future that they're not sure if they can afford. So again, it's very personal to me that we have access to good health care. And I think in this time of COVID-19, right now, not just with, coming down, with symptomatic COVID-19, but the psychological, the mental, and the emotional, wear and tear that we have on a daily basis while we're dealing with this COVID, that also has to be addressed. And I think that can be addressed through healthcare as well. And what I mean by that is there has to be some parity where healthcare doesn't just involve a broken bone or stitches, something like that, or you get a prescription for a medication to take care of an illness. It also should fully cover mental health care, because that is also a form of illness. It's actually more insidious because it's something that you don't necessarily see on the outside. And I think right now, I'm only guessing, but I'm sure that people are suffering tremendously right now, emotionally, mentally, psychologically. And my hope is that those folks, and I'm probably one of them, I get depressed sometimes, that they have access to good medical health care that also involves mental health cares. So do we have any questions out there? Or what would you like me to talk a little bit more about?
Bernadette, we have a question from a YouTube viewer, from Caleb.
Yes.
He asked, can you better explain your rural broadband plan and why is that important?
Okay, I know Caleb. Hi, Caleb. Thank you for asking that question. Well, I guess the way that I would explain it is, right now, I am not sitting at my home in front of my computer. I am at my sister's home, sitting in front of her computer, which is about 40 miles away from where I live. And the reason I am at my sister's house is because I live in a rural community out in the country. And the Wi-Fi connectivity is just not there. And Caleb can attest to this, that when we have Zoom conferences, and if I'm trying to participate at home, I have two options. You either get to see my face or you get to hear my voice, but not both of them together. And when you hear my voice, even that is a little spotty. And so I put that, for me, it's an inconvenience more than anything else. I can always just drive into town, in the past, go into a coffee shop and connect there. But there are a lot of other people who don't have that luxury. Again, I'm very lucky that I can go and find that connectivity. But there are people who don't have that luxury and they need it. But especially now in the time of COVID-19, with this remote learning, for children, one, there are a lot of folks who don't even have the hardware, meaning a computer, to be able to connect, to have their kids participate in school. But even so, let's say they do have a computer and they're ready to go, they don't have Wi-Fi internet connectivity. And this is why, again, it's a personal issue, but it also expands further out. This is why rural broadband is very important. And I think in the last special session, actually not the last special session, but the one before that, there was some legislation that was on the floor of the Senate that would address rural broadband. I don't really remember the Senate bill number, but what I can say about that is it was good legislation and it would have helped our rural communities to get that rural broadband access. However, Senator Boquist, voted against it. I don't know why he voted against it, because he does represent a large portion of District 12 is rural. So that to me says something, because I absolutely would have fought hard on the floor to make sure that got passed because of my neighbors, my sisters and brothers who live in this community with me, who live in this rural community and don't have access to it. So what it told me was that Mr. Boquist wasn't either hearing from his constituents what was really important to them, or he wasn't willing to fight for it. And either of those scenarios are not good or they're not acceptable. What I would do, one thing I can say is that I may have a very, Pollyanna kind of exterior, and especially maybe the way I speak, because I really do try to speak from my heart. But I tell people to not let that fool them, because when I need to, I can fight. And I can fight very hard, especially if I am fighting for people who can't fight for themselves, who don't have a voice that they can speak with, and knowing that if I fight hard enough and I could get a piece of legislation through, I'm going to be helping so many people. So, that's one difference between Mr. Boquist and myself. I think maybe we're both fighters, but I would wager that when push comes to shove, I think I'm going to fight a little bit harder for my constituents. So hopefully that answers your question, Caleb. I made it long. Anything else? I got to tell you, this is absolutely fantastic to be here in virtual reality, but it's crazy. I mean, I am just still, I am completely blown away with the notion that I am speaking and there are people out there who hear my voice. I'm just blown away, but it's terrific. And I'm so very thankful to Amy and Jorgen for putting this together. So yeah, let's give a shout out to Amy and Jorgen for putting this together. Yay!
So we have a message from a YouTube viewer.
Uh-huh.
Carol Christ wants to know mental health care. She says, I cannot cite the specific statistics, but I remember learning that Oregon is rated 50. below it for mental health care?
And they're asking me to kind of expound on that, kind of my
I think so.
okay. Well, like I said earlier, first of all, mental health care is important, and more important now than ever before because of this COVID-19, because we are so isolated and we're placed in a position of not knowing what's going to happen from moment to moment. A lot of us are out there and we're by ourselves, or we're with just a few people and we're not interacting, and that can profoundly affect one's psyche. And if you are vulnerable to mental health issues, which I think probably all of us are from one degree to another, it can really trigger some difficult things, such as depression and anxiety and a tremendous amount of stress. And all of those, stress especially and anxiety, can manifest itself into physical ailments. And that's my fear is, as this is going along, that is going to be what happens. I guess what I would say about mental health care is, one of the important, excuse me, I just lost my earpiece. An important part of ensuring well-being is assuring that all Oregonians are aware of and able to access the help and services they need for mental health. Now, you would think with this widespread and important challenge with COVID-19 that mental health care would be something that we would all be talking about, that it would be the top of the political agenda. But that's not necessarily the case. And that's why this question, I'm so grateful that someone asked it, because it is important. For far too long, politicians from all the parties have maintained an almost complete silence about mental health. Only in emergencies and at the extreme end of conditions do we tend to talk about the issues. If we want a government that talks directly to the challenges that Oregonians face in their everyday lives, we cannot allow the silence to continue. I know that far too many of us still suffer in silence, or live in communities with far too few services, or we feel isolated and alone. And silences in our culture are hard to break, and taboos are resistant to being overcome. Also, we can't prevent all mental ill health, and there are not cures for all conditions, but we can help change the culture in Oregon and in our country. We can insist that everyone counts, that everyone matters, and that no one dealing with any form of illness, whether it's physical or mental, should ever feel ashamed. And that's what I'm committed to working with, and that's how I think we can bring real change to Oregon in our discussions about mental health. We have to make it something that is not shameful, and something that we look at and we recognize how hard it is for folks to have that dialogue, to have politicians not be afraid to speak about this. And that way, we can then take the next step to do something about it. And again, one of the most important parts of mental health care for me is to make sure that with your health insurances, whatever it may be, that it covers mental health, that it is on parity with physical health care, that we look at health care in terms of wellness. And wellness is not just body, but it's also your mind and your soul. So hopefully that answered your question. It is something that it's very important to me. And if I were to be very honest with you and open, in my family, there has been a few bouts of mental illness that have manifested themselves, in my past. And actually, just about a month ago, we had an issue, and it's not only scary, it is it's frightening, but you don't want to talk about it for some reason. And I can say that I was guilty of that, and that's why it's hard for me to talk about it right now. Because again, truth be told, I think I fall into that category of feeling a little bit of shame about it. However, I am working on it, and I'm willing to work on it very hard, especially when I'm elected your next senator. I'm looking at the screen, and there's a way that people can make it look like they're clapping. And it's really great. It makes me feel good, like I'm, being heard. And yeah, so thanks for all those claps. Anything else? Oh, not only can they send claps, they can also put hearts up. That's even better. You know what? I am going to take this opportunity to share a little bit more. And the reason is last night I participated in a forum for NAMI, which is National Alliance of Mental Illness. And we talked about, just all the different aspects of mental illness, how we should address it, how we go forward to, make sure that those folks who suffer from that are taken care of. And we had a gentleman there who shared a very poignant story about him being in the military. He joined at 18. He went into a combat zone, I think at 19, and he started drinking and doing drugs at 20. And when he got out of the service, I think it was 5 years, he was a full-blown addict and alcoholic. And that led to an 18-month stint in prison. But the great part of the story is he's here with us today. He's running for state representative, which is amazing, and he's doing very well. And it was because there were services available to him. I don't know in what capacity, but he was able to get help. He was able to get help with his alcoholism and his drug addiction. He was able to, get clean. But in addition to that, there were a lot of psychological or counseling that was available to him as well. So I think the highlight of last night's forum was this gentleman who openly shared a story, and it's a success story, and that's what makes me really happy. So my story about some of my family's bouts with mental illness is I come from a military family. My father served in the Air Force honorably, and he was a lifer. That was his career. So I was a military brat, probably more of a brat than military. But when my father retired, it was difficult for him, and he didn't know his place in the world. And, gosh, this is hard. Just like the gentleman who shared his story last night, my father had a hard time dealing with being out of the military and the structure that afforded him. That was his whole life, He was that poor kid from a poor family who ran away from home because there probably wasn't enough food on the table. And he lied about his age, and he joined the military. And that's where he found his home. So anyway, now he is out of the military, and he is struggling. Of course, as a younger person, I didn't, one, see it, nor did he share it with me because he didn't want to burden his children. But bottom line, and this is the first time I've shared this, so he attempted to kill himself. He attempted suicide. But luckily, there were people, my other family members, who were there to save him. I don't think I have to explain how horrific and how helpless one feels in that situation. And I just remember it was not just the love of our family and the support of the family, extended family and friends. He also was able to find through the VA system, but also in Salem, at the Salem Hospital, where he was admitted, he found treatment. He had to stay at the Salem Hospital for quite a while, but they helped him. And when he came out, he was the same, he was the same father that I remembered growing up with when he was in the military. And I am so thankful for that there were these systems in place that helped him and didn't let him fall through the cracks. Because I don't know if people know this. I'm sure that they do because it's told all the time. There's a large homeless population that we have right now in Oregon. And a great majority of those people who are homeless are military vets. Military vets who are probably either in the same situation as my father or as that gentleman yesterday. And I gotta tell you, every time I pass them, it breaks my heart a little bit more each time, because I recognize, but for the grace of God go I, that could have been my father. That could have been me as a child. My sisters and brothers and I could have been living in a car on the street, except that there was help for him. So that is my personal reason why I not only fight right now hard for that, but I am committed to fighting for everybody to make sure that nobody else has to deal with that, whether it's the person who is suffering or those around them who are also suffering watching that. So if I can make one commitment to you guys out there, it is that on that issue of mental health and health care, this girl is not going to stop fighting until we do something substantive that is going to actually make a difference in these people's lives, because they are important and they need help. And we, as the society, especially here in America, we owe it to those people to help them. So that's my stump speech on that, and thank you for letting me share that story. I really appreciate it. And I see a lot of claps and hearts going up, so that really warms my heart. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing that with us, Bernadette.
You're welcome.
I appreciate your willingness to be vulnerable and honest regarding mental health.
Yes.
Like you said, there is such a stigma, and it's really unfortunate because most of us do have loved ones who battle with mental health issues.
Mm-hmm.
So I have a question kind of along the lines of what you were talking about with houselessness. What are some ways that legislation can be enacted to help our community members who are houseless or low income access affordable housing?
Yeah, that's a great question, and it's something I've been really looking into and researching. I think it's going to be a problem that really defines our generation and the next generation, is not being able to afford a home or to be able to get into a home. And everybody, again, everybody deserves a place to call home. Doesn't have to be a palace, but it has to be a shelter that you can go in and feel safe and out of the elements. Legislatively, here's the reality is that we have to work within a budget. The Oregon Constitution mandates that we have a balanced budget at the end of each legislative session. So we are bound by that. And I probably don't have to tell you that we in Oregon, just like everywhere else in the country, are struggling with our budgets and trying to figure out how best to appropriate not enough money that is there to go around. So I don't think there is a mechanism available legislatively to completely address this issue. Certainly, there's going to have to be things that are done on that level. But the way that I see this, number one, I think we as a society have to agree that homelessness and housing availability and pricing is important. And we have to all agree as a society that, especially here in America, everybody deserves to have a home. From there, I think we work with other governmental entities, such as counties, cities, other municipalities, along with nonprofit organizations, and possibly even other corporate interests, that we come together at the table, you know, an imaginary table, and we create a coalition, and we get people starting to talk about it and bringing, you know, solutions to the table, and then also bringing money to the table to supplement what we could do, you know, on a state level. Bottom line is, it is a big issue, but I think if we were to, again, make this as a society an important issue, and we created this kind of clearinghouse, you know, a group of folks that come together who are committed to finding an answer to this, I think that's the only way that we're going to find that answer, and any way that we're going to have any traction and going forward to address it. So again, it's a societal issue, and society has to be part of the process and part of the answer. Ooh, more claps. I'm going to try to move my head. Oh, there
Okay,
we
we
go.
have one question from Jay.
Mm-hmm.
Where do you stand on Measure 109, which is legalizing psilocybin for therapeutic purposes?
Yeah. Okay. I have done a little bit of research on that because I wanted to know kind of the ins and outs of the various ballot measures that are going to be up, you know, for a vote on November 3rd. I liked what I read. I think it is very, let's see, how do I couch this? I think that adding another tool to our tool chest to help those who are suffering from mental illness, depression, anxiety, to add another tool such as psilocybin, and have it regulated and have some very strict sideboards on it so that it can't be abused. And if you were to read the ballot measure, the narrative of it, it has some very stringent sideboards to it. So I feel very confident about that. I personally am all for the use of psilocybin in a specific setting, and that would be, you know, in a mental health setting, to add another tool to help folks deal with this. And a little bit of reading that I've been doing, some research on the side of some trials that they've been doing in other countries. what I have read and found out is the use of psilocybin in the right, I guess, counseling setting, or talking with a counselor, it can be a very effective and efficacious addition to someone's protocol that they are working on to address their issues. So what I've read has been very positive, again, very effective, very efficacious, and I think we would be missing a very huge opportunity to help a lot of people if we were not to look at it seriously and try to get that passed. So yes, I am for that. So it is about 6:48, and I'm not sure how we want to wrap this up, but if there are any other questions, I'd be more than happy to answer. Or if there is something that you wish to share, like that's really burning, an issue that you would like to see your elected official fight for, please share that as well, and we can have Amy announce it. I think one of the roles of an elected official, and you're not hearing it today because I don't have that interactivity, I think one of the biggest roles that we have is to listen, and to listen to people, listen to their stories, listen to what they determine or what they think the issues that are most important to them. And having that dialogue, not just a monologue where you have a politician standing up and just, speaking, telling them all about themselves. And what I have found when I have spoken to different folks within my community, other Oregonians, is there are certain issues that, there are some that are very specific to certain regions, but what I have found is that the great majority, if not everybody, pretty much share the same issues that are affecting them, whether they live in a rural community, in an urban community, whether they live, I guess in, Willamina or Newburgh. If people took the time to listen and hear what those issues are, you would find we're really pretty much all wanting the same thing. We want to have safety in our lives, stability for ourselves and our children. We want to make sure that our children are going to be able to face a future and do well and prosper, not money-wise, but prosper as an individual. I know there's a lot of fighting going on about climate action and climate change. The thing that's really interesting that I'd like to share with you is my talks that I've had with folks who live in rural communities, because I live in a rural community. I actually used to live in Baker City. That's about as rural as you can get. And Pendleton for work. I lived there for years in Eastern Oregon. They too are very worried about climate change and our future if we don't address these issues right now. I think maybe it's the mechanism and how we go forward in addressing it that might be a little bit different between them, but bottom line, every person I have spoken with thinks that we need to actively do something right now to address climate change, to ensure that our children and our children's children are going to have a future on this planet. That's the thing that's so crazy. This is not an Oregon issue. It's not even an American issue. It's a worldwide issue. And we need to address it that way. We have to look at it as something that is of dire, that has dire consequences if we don't. So anyway, Yeah, that's what I have heard and find when you talk to people and you take the time to listen. We really are more similar than we are not. Alrighty. Well, I don't, like I said, I'm not sure how to wrap this up, but it's about 5 till 7. I didn't think it was going to go on this long, and I didn't think it was going to be this fun. I have had such a terrific time. Um, Hopefully, you guys have had a good time as well. But I just want to wrap it up by saying thank you for being out there wherever you are, and listening to and hearing what I can offer if I'm elected, and also I don't know, just thank you for being out there. Thank you for your support. And again, I would be remiss, and my campaign manager would just get at me if I didn't say, please go to my website, which is really simple. It's BernadetteHansen.com, and Hansen has an E on it. So BernadetteHansen.com to learn about the issues that I'm going to fight for, and also just what my campaign is about. But more importantly, two things. There has if you go there, you have an opportunity to volunteer for this campaign. And volunteering can be anything from postcard writing, phone banking, letters to the editor. So there's a number of things. If you're not comfortable with one, you can find another. I would welcome you to, join our campaign, join this team, and help us in the next 30 days get to the finish line and win. And then the second thing, and this is a little more difficult for me to ask, is when you're online, please donate to our campaign, because one thing that I've learned is campaigns are not cheap. And if we want to win this, and we want to do it right, and we want to reach out to as many people, especially non-affiliated or even left-leaning Republicans, because bottom line, if I'm elected, I do not represent only Democrats. I will represent Republicans, independents, the Green Party, and Democrats. So, but it is expensive to run a campaign, and we do want to reach those people. So please donate. Donate money to the campaign. It would be very much appreciated. And I think that's it. Thank you again for listening and sharing your time with me. You can't see it, but I'm also clapping and throwing out hearts your way. All righty. I think that's it. Thank you. Hmm.
Hello.
Hi.
Hey, I'm not what you call it, Oregon person. I'm in
Mm-hmm.
Arizona,
Yes.
and but I am voting across the board for Democrats because of one specific reason. Because you guys have an opportunity to, as a senator, as being able to control the Senate,
Mm-hmm.
and you have the House right now. And if you get Biden on your side, you'll have all three of them, and you can make some
Yes.
big changes with that. But also that you'd make the right changes, for having the power to be able to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the only reason why I'm voting that's this specific way this year. And
Right.
and I hope you guys really do a bang up job where, in the next 4 years, hopefully, I mean, Trump sort of, I think he's lost this now because of this virus thing. He has it. And
Mm-hmm.
and so I think Biden has this, unless he gets sick and has the same issue.
Yeah.
But I think you guys have an opportunity as
Mm-hmm.
as Democrats to control both houses and the presidency. And I really, really hope you guys make a change. Do stuff that
Yes.
actually promotes people's values and
Yes.
as far as the betterment of America in itself.
Yes. I agree with you wholeheartedly. First thing, I don't know if I made it clear, I'm not running for Congress, like congressional Senate seat. I'm running
Oh, you're
for
not?
no, I'm running for a state legislative seat, a state
Oh,
Senate.
all right.
However, you know, what you were saying about what's happening in the Beltway, we can take that and we can place it directly here in Oregon or any other state at the local
Right.
legislature.
Right.
And bottom line, I know people don't like to hear it, but numbers matter and
Yeah.
majorities matter. If
Right.
you wish to really do some important aggressive actions, you do need to have control of the House and the
Right.
Senate, and hopefully have someone in the leadership on a state level. That would be the governor, but at a national level it would be president. But you have
Right.
to have that on your side in order to really make a substantive difference. And
Right.
that's what we're finding right now. All of this angst that's coming from the Beltway is because there is this back and forth and this not being able to really do anything and make decisions
Right.
because there's so much fighting. So
Right.
yes, I
I'm-
agree with you
on,
wholeheartedly.
on my side, I'm on the far left, or
Mm-hmm.
very far left. But I also believe that everybody that's in politics are crooks. And
Mm-hmm.
and they don't tell the truth, and they manipulate it, and they're just rich people. And so,
Mm-hmm. Sure.
but I really do hope that if, and that's why I'm voting the way I'm voting, is because
Yeah.
I think that there's a chance that the Senate might become Democratic, and where all the Democrats are in charge of it, and Biden
Yeah.
becomes in charge. And I really hope you guys do something. I really do.
Yeah, well, thank you.
Yeah.
I can tell you that I'm not a crook. I think I might have been in first grade, and I think I stole a piece of candy from the 7-Eleven, but my father made me turn around and take it back and apologize.
Yeah.
But at least right now, I'm not a crook, and
Yeah.
what you hear from me is
Yeah.
sometimes is not articulate as some other people, but it is,
Yeah.
it's honest and it's straight from my
Yeah.
heart. So,
Well, all
and
I can
I'm
do is
willing to
wish
fight.
you luck.
Thank you
I'm
so
in
much.
Arizona. I'm voting across the board Democrat in Arizona.
Yeah.
But and we have a chance to get McSally out and have
Yes.
what's his name in charge. But and she was never elected. They put her in charge.
That's right.
The governor put her in there. But I don't know. We'll see what happens. But I wish you guys luck.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I always say, hopefully luck has nothing to do with it. Hopefully it's hard work, because I
Yeah.
have a terrific team and they are working their tails off, and
Yeah.
I'm just trying to keep up. So yeah,
Yeah.
thank
Well,
you.
Good luck. Good luck.
Alrighty. Okay, I'm going to head out then, Amy. Thank you so much
Right.
for putting this together. It has been fantastic, and what an awesome time I've had. So thank you.
Great. I'm so glad you enjoyed yourself.
Yes, I did.
I know we had
Okay, bye now.
at least
Hey, you. I'm out, I think.
next Friday at 6 o'clock, we'll be hosting a town hall for Oregon House Representative Lynette Shaw. Same time, same place.